Greetings to you all, the pioneer viewers from a new day and a new report. In a moment, we will analyze the latest developments in the Russia-Ukraine war with a map. According to the latest reports, the war between the Ukrainian army and the Russian army continues in 4 parts of the front line. While Ukrainian troops continue to attack, the Russian army is conducting both offensive and defensive activities. The Ukrainian army has established a magnificent defense line in Avdiivka. Okay, this defense line is quite strong. However, this defense line also costs a big thing. We have seen a similar situation on the Bakhmut front line. The Ukrainian army needs to reconsider the situation here. The Russian army needs to review the situation on the Zaporizhia front line. The losses of the Russian army in this region have reached unbearable levels. We will now analyze the situation. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so as not to miss the daily map reports and agenda reports of the Pioneer team. You can also support me and my team by using the super thanks button below the video. Let's start if you're ready. The Pioneer reports. We start by analyzing the latest developments on the Zaporizhia front line. As you know, the Ukrainian army's counteroffensive began early last summer and ended recently. At the moment, we do not consider what is happening on the front line as a counteroffensive. First of all, I would like to state that the clashes in the region should be evaluated within the scope of counter-defense and offensive operations. The Zaporizhia front line is very important for the Ukrainian army. The reason, as you can guess, is that the Ukrainian army gained the most important successes during the counteroffensive here. It is true that these successes gave great encouragement to the Ukrainian army. However, we should also point out the following. It was not enough for the counteroffensive to succeed only on this front. Looking at the situation in the region, we see that the Ukrainian forces are trying to advance in the direction of Novoprokopivka. As you know, the Ukrainian army has been conducting offensive operations here for a long time. The aim of these offensive operations is both to establish dominance in a new area by capturing Novoprokopivka and to enable Ukrainian forces in Robotny and Kopany to advance faster. However, we can say that the recent offensive in Novoprokopivka were successful for the Ukrainian army. It is true that Russian troops suffered heavy losses during this offensive, but not enough space has yet been created for the Ukrainian troops to advance. We can say that similar attacks of the Ukrainian troops continue in the direction of Verbov. Russian troops also suffered heavy losses in this area. However, not enough space has been opened. In order to open more areas, the Ukrainian army needs to increase its artillery activity in the region. Ukrainian artillery units should carry out more shelling. However, we do not observe such a situation at the moment. Let's talk about the artillery activity in the region in general. According to the latest reports, Russian artillery units targeted residential areas of the Gamenskoye and Robotny, Goluyapiol and Poltavka. Ukrainian artillery hit Nestryanka, Kopany, Rovny, Salatkobalka, Ichenko and Verbov. Let us continue with the Vuhledar sector of the Zaporizhia front line. First, let's see the Vuhledar area on the map. Question. As you know, the Ukrainian armed forces captured the Stromyorsk and Yorkhain in this area. This sovereignty in this region continues. The Russian army is almost ambitious here. Russian troops are carrying out attacks to capture the Yorkhain and the Stromyorsk region with great ambition. However, the vast majority of these attacks are still in vain. The persistence of the Russian troops here is a big problem. In fact, if the Russian army concentrates its attacks here in another region, perhaps it can achieve success. However, we have often stated that the personal ambition of the Russian commanders greatly affect the successes of the army. It is a similar situation here. Russian commanders are using Russian troops as bait in the Yorkhain and Stromyorsk areas to satisfy their personal ambitions. There are also intensive attacks by Russian troops in the direction of Priyotny. According to reports, the Russian army is carrying out intensive shelling before launching attacks on Priyotny area. This intensive effort seems to have yielded results. There is a partial withdrawal of the Ukrainian troops. However, according to local sources, a new Ukrainian battalion is being prepared for the Priyotny region. If this claim is true, the Ukrainian army will regain control of Priyotny. Let's talk about the artillery activity in the region. According to the latest reports, Russian artillery units targeted Ukrainian positions in the direction of Stromyorsk, Volогодetnoe, Zolody, Niva, and Perchistovka, Wuhldar, and Vodyatnoe. On the other hand, Ukrainian artillery units targeted positions of the Russian armed forces in the direction of Zaporizhia and Novodonetsk. Let us continue with the Donetsk front line. As we mentioned at the beginning of our report, Avdiivka on the Donetsk front line is a very critical area. Avdiivka has become almost like the Bakhmut front line. Russian forces are intensively attacking Avdiivka. We also discuss what happened during these attacks in our report on the agenda. Despite all these attacks, the Russian army still could not capture Avdiivka. The Ukrainian defense in the region is showing incredible resistance. However, this resistance may cost the Ukrainian army dearly. On the Bakhmut front line, Ukrainian forces insisted for a long time, and in this process, the Wagner militia besieging Bakhmut suffered heavy losses. During the clashes, Bakhmut city center turned into a complete ruin. Naturally, the Ukrainian army also suffered heavy losses during these intense clashes. We can say the following here. The withdrawal of the Ukrainian army may be a wiser move. The attacks of the Russian army, which are called meat attacks, are being repelled by the Ukrainian army. This is true. However, these attacks wear out the Ukrainian army as much as they wear out the Russian army. The Ukrainian army's tactical retreat and the creation of a defense line further back will enable the Ukrainian army to be even more successful. Let us also mention the artillery activity in the region. According to the latest reports, Novomikhailovka, Pobeda, Marinka, the town of Grosnogorovka, and Permovskoye and Stepnoe were targeted by the positions of the Ukrainian armed forces. Ukrainian artillery units targeted positions of the Russian armed forces in Stromykhailivka, Donetsk, Polyatny, Opitny, and Krasnogorovka village. There are also limited activities in the Luhansk front line. According to the latest reports, after the shelling, Russian troops launched an attack from the direction of Dibrova in Serbiansky forest area near Makayivka and Stepnoe, Novosilovka, and Sinkovka. However, these attacks did not change the borderline. The attacks were repulsed by the Ukrainian defense forces. In Kherson, the other region where the activity increased, silence prevailed again. However, I don't think that this silence will last long. We are of the opinion that we will see the attacks of the Ukrainian army again in the region in the coming days. So, what do you think? Do you think the Ukrainian army will advance on the Zaporizhia front line? Should the Ukrainian troops make a tactical retreat in Avdiivka? How do you interpret the silence on the Bakhmut and Kherson front line? Specify in the comments. I read and care about your comments.